Okay, good morning, everyone. So, my name is Roderick, and I have been working with Agency Zaza for 4 years. And throughout these 4 years, of course, there was something new with the COVID pandemic, and we had to adapt our services as well. I will never forget 13th March 2020. I was delivering schoolwork services and heard the teachers talking, then heard the students talking, and then they had advice that school will be stopping, and even from the agency that face-to-face interaction will stop. And I have to admit that it was quite a shock on that day. But we believe that you always have two ways. Either you highlight the problem or you try to be creative with solutions. And therefore, we try to keep in contact with young people through these two social media programs, which are called InstaPoint and Tuesdays. We used different platforms, and we began with Facebook, Instagram, and also YouTube. So here's some highlights as Rebecca is showing. And both of the programs had different purposes. InstaPoint focused a lot on life skills, so we keep on developing young people's life skills and also linking it with projects and services of Agencia Zaza, while on the other hand, Tuesdays focused on current affairs and topics relevant to young people. And for example, lately we were doing on careers, so that if a young person wants to pursue a career into medicine, this young person will have this information ready available, an episode with many questions that the young person might have. So they had InstaPoint and Tuesdays had different aims and purposes. There were some commonalities, but the purpose was different. And to be honest, I'll go to the next section, which is the preparation. Um, as Simon said, we never done this before, so we had to research, we had to be prepared. We are youth workers. Ultimately, we are no DJs or radio broadcasters, so um, we had to research. But whatever we do, we are committed to deliver a quality service. So in terms of preparation, we had to brainstorm the list of themes and current affairs that we would talk about that will engage the young people as well and create a link with us as an agency. The guests played an essential role, contacting the guests, seeing an incredible an amount of slots to accommodate the guests. I will get into the guests later on, so I won't give a lot of detail now. Even the script, for example, there are different mediums. One can just have 2, 3 points and engage in a natural conversation. But since for us it was the start, and we couldn't wait for months to deliver something because we had to keep on supporting young people, we developed a script with the questions that we needed to ask. We also, for example, brainstormed on some introductory tips. So, welcoming, how do we welcome the guests? How do we conclude the program? How to deliver and provide information. And it required a lot of time as well. And of course, the promotion, because we wanted to make many young people aware, many stakeholders aware of what we are doing, because maybe face to face stopped. But we are still there and we are still committed to provide such services. So preparation took a lot of time and energy because don't forget, we were all also working on other stuff. We didn't stop and focused on social media only. We still worked on other things apart from those. But I will give the floor quickly to Rebecca because she will elaborate on preparatory meetings and also necessary documentation.
Hello everyone, thank you Roderick. I'm Rebecca. I have been a youth worker with Agencia Zaza for the past year now, and I have entered Agencia Zaza exactly with the COVID pandemic. So I had to adapt quickly to using digital tools and get creative with outreaching young people. As Roderick was saying, preparation was key in order to come up with these programs, social media programs. Promotion had a lot to prepare as well. So some documentations needed to be prepared, such as a consent form. The one that you're seeing is the one that we were using. In order to have guests, and you'll need to obviously have them show their faces on social media, you'll have them fill in a consent form, because GDPR forms, legally you'll need to sign a document such as this one in order to share the medium. And this is Canva. I'm not sure if everyone is already know about Canva. However, we used it to the one of Tuesdays and InstaPoint as well. And for example, this is one poster for InstaPoint. You'll need to put in some necessary information. Here we have the host, who's Roderick. We'll have the logo for Agencia Zaza. We'll have you will need to put in the title of the program, when it is going to be live, the time, and you'll need to put in, for example, logos from the organizations that will be guests on the program as well. And you'll need, for example, we used to try and make it as fun as possible, even engaging for our guests and for our audience. And we came up with some quiz or games according to the themes that the programs were about as well. So for preparation purposes, you'll need to prepare this beforehand, such as this quiz. So this is all fun and games. However, we did have some challenges, and I will revert back to Roderick for the challenges.
Exactly. Rebecca, maybe if you go to that screen where there was Instagram, when we did InstaPoint with the two faces, for example, me and Frederick, for example. So it all started like this, okay? And the first big challenge was the internet connection and testing of the live Instagram. So, for example, I used to say, "Hello, Frederick, are you hearing me?" Oh, and I was confused because he was answering to me, but he wasn't hearing me. So he was reading my lips, and a lot of confusion was being done at first. So, and young people would come live and tell us, "We are not hearing you." Okay, we are hearing Roderick now. And then Frederick tried. In fact, this picture is amazing because you see Frederick with the headphones and then Frederick without. We experimented for so much with headphones. I even got a new mobile, not for this, but I said, no, I have a new mobile. It should work much better, but it didn't at first. So there was a lot of experimentation and challenges with the internet connection. And then once everything is settled, finally, boom, the internet went down. So Wi-Fi is down. I have to go on 3G, and well, it was quite an adventure to say the least. But we still somehow managed. Editing. The editing was very important, as I highlighted previously. We are no radio broadcasters, but we are still committed to deliver the best quality service possible. And so editing required a great amount of time, even in a simple poster. You saw the poster beforehand, maybe you say it does not take a lot of time, but in terms of video as well, and to edit the whole program, because then we developed it further, it took hours. It took hours. And remember that as youth workers, we worked on different amount of things as well. Guests. I previously said I will elaborate on guests, and this was another big challenge because guests are different. They are humans as well, of course, but you find confident guests, you find guests that are shy, you find guests that I specifically tell them, listen, we have a minute and a half for each question. And we are at the second question, and we are at over 8 minutes already. And I start panicking inside, but I don't show it, and try to, okay, we'll skip the following two questions and go to the last question and reword it at that time, and then communicate with the rest of the team. Listen, we need to edit this part, etc. But another headache in terms of guests was to accommodate them for the slots. We did this weekly. So we really tried hard to record, for example, twice a week, so that, or more, so that we are well prepared. And if this week, 18th October, we have 3 episodes, then next week we record 2 more episodes, and for October and almost November we are ready. But it all depended on the guests' availabilities, and I also had some adventures there. Once I had a guest on a boat. So can you imagine interviewing someone on a boat and hearing noises, because there were a lot of noises on a boat, so I had to adapt and okay, imagine that everything is okay. I interviewed guests outside Malta, of course. Sometimes I interviewed Maltese guests as well in their kitchen with the cat going on the cupboard, and I say, okay, let's move on. Imagine there's no cat. But these were all challenges. We were working from home, and when COVID was quite severe at a certain point in time, what else can we do? Um, and even accommodating guests in their own slots, some slots were outside working hours. But in order to deliver the best of service, yes, if the guests can on a Saturday, on a Sunday, or very late in the evening, therefore we go ahead with it. Then, of course, I stated that it all began 13th March, but in terms of InstaPoint, for example, we did 65 episodes. So 65 episodes meant that we went through seasons, different seasons, and young people were moving from time to time. We had young people that when the program got up, they were there, but we had young people that they didn't see it when the program was up, and they saw it 2-3 days later. So that was also a headache and a challenge, and we were discussing, but at what time would it be best? Or we would do it, we upload the program, it's recorded, and then it's there and young people can see it whenever they want. And we were comparing the effort being done with the number of views, for example. And if we can, I can go very much deeper in views, but I limit it, of course. If you have 1K views, it doesn't mean that 1K young people saw it. 1K could have clicked it for 5-10 seconds and that's it, So we were continuously evaluating these services. And I already also highlighted the duration of the interview, of the whole program. We started with 30-45 minutes, then we decreased it because young people saw a good amount of minutes, but then you can have the best of programs, but still young people want to go from one thing to another as well. And we learned this throughout the process. But there were also a number of successes. And first of all, our primary target was to target young people needs and interests and still provide space so that young people express themselves. And young people engaged with us, they talked with us, we still refer them to several services, they still participated even during the program. At a certain point, Rebecca mentioned as well that we did some interactive games, some challenges with them, and they were looking forward to every single game and challenge we do. Sometimes we did challenges between the youth workers and physical challenges as well. and young people really, they took sides and they were promoting it so much, and they look forward to it. But there were different periods as well. We created a human library, and both with Instapoint, both with Tuesdays. So, for example, if young person wants to know about a particular project or wants to know about a particular topic that Rebecca discussed, you can go find the episode on the website on YouTube and revisit the information, and it's there for you. And networking. We also networked with a good number of organizations, youth organizations and entities, and relevant stakeholders. And it was very fruitful for us. Um, Myself and Rebecca, of course, didn't become famous in Malta, right, Rebecca? But from time to time, new people talked to us and said, listen, I heard about this service from your program. Can you kindly elaborate more? Or we would like to invite you, for example, within the local councils. Could you briefly come and talk to us a bit? And then I would deliver and inform the management about this, and it was an opportunity. So ultimately, it served as a bridge with other entities as well. Since we are talking on the importance of digitalization as well, Rebecca will focus and will start to conclude more on the digital aspect as well.
Thank you. So, of course, since we're doing all of this online, you will require some digital tools. And as Roderick already mentioned, at certain times, we did not go live. We pre-recorded certain programs and then premiered them on our social media, on our main social media pages. This had its benefits as well, since we were, as youth workers, providing other services at the same time that the programs were airing, as well as having availabilities of guests, since not all guests could come live during that day and time. So we used StreamYard. This is a broadcasting subscription that you can buy. And the studio, as you can see over here, is what is being recorded. So over here is the screen. You would need to provide a background, maybe the logos of the program or the organization that you're with. Let me remove. Okay. So over here, you will have the lobby, as many guests as you'll provide for the program. And you'll have as usual, the camera, the microphone. You could share the screen. So when we're doing the fun games or other PowerPoints and quizzes, we'd have to share the screen. We'd invite people. Over here, we had the format that the people would show up on the screen as well. What StreamYard had best was that you can put in video clips, other images and backgrounds live there and then. So if I'm speaking with my guests and I need to overlay what we're saying and showing a picture of the guest, for example, doing voluntary work, I would click on the video or the feature and it will be showing up live while we're still talking, while the guests are still talking. And this one, StreamYard, could also be broadcasted live. So it had a feature that we're doing the interviews with the guests in StreamYard, in the broadcast studio over here. And it could be shared live on Facebook, for example, or Instagram. The feature that we were using of lately was recording. So we're recording our programs and then downloading the audio visual. And then it comes to the editing part. We were mentioning editing, and it was one of the challenges. However, it was a success as well. The challenge was that it took some time. So obviously, a guest would make a mistake, or even us, the hosts, and we run off the script, for example, or someone had their cat on their cupboard, like Roderick was saying, or someone opens the door and starts calling out for the guests, for example, and you'll need to edit that out because it won't look good for the program. So this is Wondershare Filmora. It's an editing program. You might say, but I'm not a tech savvy, or I don't know how to use these sort of digital tools. However, both StreamYard and Filmora are very user-friendly. So you'll use them once or twice, and you can get the hang of it very easily. You'll upload your media over here, then you'll place it on the editing bar. And the best feature that Wondershare Filmora has is that you can layer. So for example, over here, you have your video going on, and you can layer music, or you can layer another video going on at the same time. So that is regards editing and broadcasting. Now I'm going to stop the screen for just a minute. Other digital tools that you can use to make your program seem more professional, let's say. I'll just say this, with a laptop, you can for sure create a social media program. The microphone and the camera are still very good from the laptop. However, for InstaPoint, they were using a camera and a stand, and there were other youth workers filming or making noise, but they were filming and helping out Roderick to film InstaPoint. However, when it came to Tuesdays, we were recording it on the laptop. So some digital tools that you can use, I don't know if you can see them, like a ring light. So you would have more lights on the guest or the host. We were using headphones as well. So Roderick mentioned headphones. These are a godsend because you will eliminate a lot of sound echoes going on, and you can hear the guests better, apart from looking cool. No, what is that? And as well, but these are, I mean, additional tools that you can use to create the social media program and make it more enjoyable for the audience as well. As of lately, we're using a microphone as well. I don't know if you can see it. And this also eliminates a bit of the sound echoes that would be going on in the background as well. If you want, you can soundproof the room, but it's a bit of a just another professional digital tool that you may use. Apart from that, I don't know if there are any questions, but that's it, to create a whole social media program for youths to continue outreaching them during the pandemic as well.
Thank you, Roderick and Rebecca, for sharing your experience and newly acquired skills over the past couple of years. Because as we were mentioning, that most of us didn't. It had never occurred to us that we might end up broadcasting, because after all, we were broadcasting on social media and putting our faces there. One question I would have is, how you would go about guests? I mean, you were mentioning that you would have tried to do a couple of recordings during 1 week and try to have things prepared. What kind of approach you use there? I mean, you just hit it. What went behind the planning there?
Right, I think it's a very good question. I don't know, Roderick, I will take this one. So we had other youth workers. So teamwork is what makes this work. We had youth workers who were emailing or chasing guests, as we like to say, because you need to chase people. However, we would prepare first the scheme. So we would come up with a team. So for example, we were doing some information about post-secondary schools that are available in Malta for all the young people. And we had other people helping us out by contacting the school. or the organization, and then you'll ask them for their availabilities to try and find a common availability along with ourselves, and then we would slot them into our timetable as well to record. The best way that we found as well was to prepare the whole team, the season, as Roderick was saying as well, and in order to slot a lot of recordings. So you would have sort of like a recording bank. So if some of the guests don't show up or are feeling shy or need to postpone or they're sick, you'll have a program ready, and you can sort of like exchange a program with another. However, teamwork worked best, contacting organizations in order to get the guests from there. And if you'll have a guest that already has a following, for example, that helped a lot as well, because many other young people could be reached that way. I hope I answered the question.
I don't know if there are any other questions. Yeah, Eva?
I wanted to know, perhaps you mentioned it because I had to take a call just recently. How did you track the numbers of young people you reached out to? So was there, and how did the numbers of people develop?
Okay, as in terms of reach, right? With home, okay. So the promotion was also a vital part of it, because since in whatever we do, a good amount of effort is invested, and you have to promote it. So first, basically, we promoted it with a poster. But let's not forget that, for example, us as youth workers, we work in regions. And we had already our established services within the region. So, for example, for myself, I knew a lot of young people within the schools. I delivered the services. As youth workers, we have their accounts on social media. And when we promoted and they responded, we had chats, group chats, because we participated in activities. But the promotion, the reach wasn't reached from before only. So once the program was out, let's say that the program was about a project, the Malta Youth Film project. So we contacted, for example, institutes related to the filming, and they would share our episode. We contact schools and they would share our episode. And of course, young people that have those interests would share as well. We can do a huge amount of work to reach a good number, but the best promotion method would be young people themselves sharing it together, but complemented by our efforts as well before and after. So it doesn't mean that once the program is uploaded, we tick the box and it's okay. We have to follow it up. We have to keep promoting it as a team as well. And if we're talking, because I mentioned this, an example on the filming industry, who are the filming industry stakeholders that can help us spread the word as well? Because ultimately, in terms of InstaPoint, our aim is not to put up a social program and that's it. If we are promoting a project of ours, we want young people to benefit from it.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Kathy?
And sorry, my internet connection is not so well, so that's the reason why I have no video. And what was the feedback from young people or other youth workers? Did you get feedback there? Because I can imagine that they loved it, right? Because it was such a special time and so difficult for all of them. Yeah.
Okay, in terms of getting feedback from young people, I think the best result was when they were contacting us to be on the programs, on the show. So they were getting to our inbox, our DMs, and they will tell us, can I promote my campaign, or could you create a program where you can tell us, for example, how to get in the police force when we're doing the one of the careers. And so for that, the feedback was, I mean, quite positive that way. The other feedback that we could get were when they were being guests on the show. So a young person was a guest and they would continue to share it. So for example, this month they were bringing awareness to dyslexia, and we had a whole team from a dyslexia association, and they are still resharing the program that they did with us last year. So that, I think, shows the feedback from young people was quite positive from Tuesdays. I don't know if Roderick would want to add from InstaPoint.
Yes, because we still were doing youth work ultimately. So I really appreciated when young people came to me and said, listen, why don't you do this game, or why don't you shape a little bit the interview, make it shorter, make it more natural, whatever. And I really appreciated this type of feedback, because ultimately I'm doing this for young people, you know, and even a simple sentence or two from young people for us was meaningful. And when they saw that their feedback was actually being implemented, because we didn't start with a particular product in episode 1 and finished with the exact same product in episode 65. So when young people appreciated their voice being heard and their feedback being implemented, it was something nice as well. The feedback consisted of technicalities as well, and because I would have some young people that know how to manage better the camera than myself or my colleagues, for example, saying, listen, you have to be more there in the center and the light. And I say, wow, this is amazing, thank you. So I think that way it was brilliant.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing with us. It sounds really, really interesting and nice.
I have a question as well for you too. As well, I know a lot about what was going on, but you mentioned that you made this shift from live to then using the Premiere functions on Facebook. What is it something that you missed from the live programs when it was live? I mean, especially in both of them. I think when there were a couple of things that that as an organization we gained by going on Premiere rather than live. But I think the live we missed some things. Maybe you can share a bit what we missed from the live programs.
With regards what you said as well as premiering, it had its benefits, its own benefits. For example, the availabilities of the guests and ourselves. However, I think what I would have missed the most, since I didn't do any live, some people are scared of live, so that is a bit of a challenge as well. However, it would have been a learning curve. So that is something that I would have missed. The interaction with young people, I think. So when you're going live, young people can comment there and then on the video. So you would see the comments coming up and you can answer them or ask the guests, for example, the questions that young people have. So I think by going to premiering rather than live, at some point we missed a bit of the interaction in live.
Yes, in my case, I started live myself, and even the mistakes that we did as youth workers, they were enjoyed by the young people. So they would say, hello, how are you? Hello. And for example, with us, there is Frederick. I mention him a lot because he was a crucial part and an important part of this project. And when we did challenges together, they took sides, for example, and there would be a young person that I worked with choosing Frederick. And so I mentioned them live and they would continue to comment. So that was nice, even for us youth workers. We would end up, I think, like children and joke with them. And, you know, we still continued with this script, but it was more natural, because if you are a young person and you are commenting, the youth worker calls your name, he or she is communicating with you, you are engaging, you are even playing with young people at that time, because once we did it as well, not once, and for example, I had a challenge and a young person wanted to challenge us, and I included him instead of Frederick, and we challenged each other there and then. So it was very natural. But on the other hand, when it's recorded, I'm not saying that live is better, but when it's recorded, of course, you can deliver more quality, but the young person is sitting down, he can comment or she can comment how much they want, but if I'm not there following the program as well, I won't reply, and it's not the same because it's recorded, you know. So I think there were both were beneficial and both had limitations. I enjoyed both. If I had to choose, it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult, but since I really love the interaction with young people, I think the live was quite engaging. But then I realized that as time went by, the quality increased with the recording as well. So both of them are good.
Any more questions from those present? I do have one more question, and I think, and this would be my last one. Especially, were there any instances where, for example, you invited someone who might be popular, or you picked up on a topic which, for example, that generated more interest? Were there any situations where you got someone who was, I mean, a bit more famous with young people, or you selected a topic which generated more interest?
Yes, I think I also mentioned as well with regard to the views. So you can see when you have a popular person who already has a following, you can see that a lot of more people will tune in. I had a person which I had contacted, and the program was very long as well, because we had a lot to say, and she had a lot to say as well. And as Roderick said, the duration was a bit of a challenge. However, we split the program into 2 parts, and this person was speaking about their medical journey as well, and she already had a bit of a following. However, once we aired the program, she was elected as a commissioner for disability rights. And once she was elected as a commissioner, the program just exploded. So it went above 3,000 and 3K views because of the popularity that the person had just gained. Yes, I think when a person already is famous or has like a following with young people, they would tune in much more. Another topic I think that had gained a lot of momentum was the one that we did of careers, because young people were very interested in finding their own career path, which they were asking us as well to promote certain career paths, and the one of the post-secondary schools, because it was the time when young people had to choose which post-secondary school they needed to be admitted to. So I think they found it very useful to them as well.
Thanks a lot. So if there aren't any more questions, what I would like to, I'll invite you to, as always, go to, I'll share it in the chat. Go to Padlet, and maybe you can share what you have learned today, and what you want to learn more about. I'll share it in the chat. And I'll share as well the password. The password is participation.
Simon,
Yes.
maybe you need to create the feedback for meeting number 9, or
It is. It is.
It is? Okay.
It is already. I think Eva had already set it up before.
Maybe I should refresh. It is first. Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes, it is the first.
Yeah, I was going on the right.
Maybe Rodrigo and Rebecca, maybe you can share also where one could view one of these programs to have an idea as well. Of course, they're in Maltese, and maybe Rodrigo, you can find one which was in English. So of course you can keep on adding the information even after this meeting on Padlet. I would like to invite you to follow more our open community on community.me, and then you can ask more questions and also maybe express your ideas and maybe you have tried out these tools yourselves, and you can share more tips. You can register for our newsletter by visiting digi-project.eu, and there you can, if you scroll down, you can join the community, and also you can email us, so you could start receiving emails from us. So we will be informing again for our 10th now online community meeting. And again, you can get the information from our website, through our newsletter communication, and also through our Facebook and social media programs. So I hope you found this online meeting useful, and I hope to receive a notification from you that you're doing a live program and follow what you're doing in your own countries. Thanks a lot, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Roderick
Thank you.
and Rebecca.
Thank you so much for the great input. Very inspiring.